Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Hingham Board of Selectmen meeting for Thursday, April 17th. Tonight's agenda, we have approval of minutes, a public hearing on a change of manager at the New Boston Golf Club, a public hearing as well at the request of the Hingham Sewer Commission to deal with sewers on Ship and Cottage Street. We will have a shade tree hearing regarding 895 and 901 Main Street. Our town engineer, Roger Fernandez, will update us on the road building 5-year plan. We will receive the annual report from Lincoln Maritime. We will have a transfer of the reserve fund. And then we will discuss at the end of the meeting a town administrator evaluation, Selectmen reports, and then we will adjourn to an executive session to discuss real estate matters, since discussion in the open session could be detrimental to the negotiating position of the town. So with that, I'd like to start the meeting. We have 2 minutes from we have a number of minutes. April 3rd and March 27th and April 3rd.
Just 2 copies.
Just 2 copies. Yep, you're right. There's 3 pieces, but only 2. Thank you for that. April 3rd and March 27th. Any corrections? If not, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 22nd, 2014, and April 3rd, 2014.
A second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Boy, that was quick. There we go. The next issue is a public hearing at the request of the New Boston Golf Club, doing business as the Boston Golf Club, for a change of manager. Do we have a representative? I see. Welcome, Mr. Ryan. Come on up. Have a seat. If you'd be kind enough to introduce yourself to the folks at home, thank you.
Yes, I'm John Ryan, 175 Otis Street, and I'm the president of the Boston Golf Club. And we're here tonight to ask that I be nominated as and approved as the manager for the purposes of the liquor license.
Okay.
The previous manager has left the club, and I'm the de facto general manager up there.
So you wear a couple of hats.
Yeah, I absolutely do.
Okay. Well, that's great. Any questions from my colleagues?
No, tough duty, Jack, to have to be there all the time. That is an absolutely gorgeous piece of property and a gorgeous course.
I think some days my wife likes that I'm out of the house.
I find there's somebody in the audience who would support that. Mr. Healy?
I have no questions.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? There being none, Mr. Healy, would you be kind enough to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the request of New Boston Golf Club, Inc., DBA Boston Golf Club, Inc., for the change of manager from Robin M. Patterson to John P. Ryan.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Jack, thank you, and thank you for the good
Okay,
work
well,
you've done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing at the request of the Hingham Sewer Commission to install and maintain 910 feet of 8-inch sewer and approximately 1,330 feet of low-pressure sewers on Ship and Cottage Street. And I'll invite
Randy's here on behalf of our Superintendent of Public Works. Randy Sylvester's here on behalf of the Sewer Commission.
Okay, thank you.
And I actually spoke to the engineer who's going to present the project, and he's on his way up the stairs now.
Oh, okay. So, do you need a couple of minutes, Randy?
Yeah,
There he is.
I just saw him walk by with his boards.
All right,
Yeah, I'll find him.
okay, well,
I saw him at Winthrop.
There he is.
there he is, here he
Yeah.
comes. Ah, there we go, okay. Thank you.
Jump right in. For you.
So there you go. And
Take my coat off?
you may take your coat off.
Thank you.
The seat you're,
Take my coat off.
So granted.
the seat you're in is wired, so go right ahead. Okay.
I'm gonna have to move to the South Shore.
Bob, is he going to need to stay by the mic, right, so he knows that? All right, okay.
So you have to be within 6 inches, really, of that to
Okay.
get heard by the TV.
So otherwise, the people at home won't hear you. Okay,
Excellent.
okay, thank you.
So basically, I'm here on behalf of the Sewer Commission for a grant allocation for an installation of a sewer main on Cottage and Ship Street. This is Steve Peterson. He's our engineer from Weston and Sampson, and he'll bring you through the project.
Okay. Steve, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so as Randy said, this is in regards to a sewer extension project for Ship and Cottage Street. The board behind me, I think, is a larger version of the plan that you have. Basically, what we're looking at is it's a combination of gravity sewers and low-pressure sewers to provide municipal sewer service to these 29 properties on these 2 streets. There are connections on Fearing Road and at the intersection of Ship Street and North Street. So basically, the way the sewer lays out, if you want to look at the map behind me, the first connection is on Fearing Road, intersection of Fearing Road and Cottage. There'll be a gravity sewer connecting to an existing manhole at Fearing Road and coming up to the high point on Cottage Street at that point. From there, there's a low-pressure sewer that connects the remainder of the properties on Cottage Street as you work your way towards Ship and then North Street down at the bottom. So those homes will all flow up to the gravity sewer on Cottage that ties into Fearing. And then the other piece of sewer is a gravity sewer that is connecting, so there's an existing manhole in the intersection of North Street and Ship Street with a stub that was left previously that extends into Ship Street. So this sewer will be connecting to that stub, and based on the grade of Ship Street increasing significantly from North Street towards Cottage, that section of Ship will flow by gravity down to that existing sewer.
Okay. If this is approved, when would the work begin and when would it end?
So we've already gone through the bidding process, so we have a contractor on board and ready. We've actually had a pre-construction conference with the town. The contractor is prepared to start next week. He's prepared to start as early as next week. It's anticipated that the majority of the digging work will take about 6 weeks. There will be auxiliary work after that to clean up the site and all of that, but most of the digging should be accomplished within 6 weeks.
Sometime this summer.
Yes.
Sometime this summer.
Their schedule says that they'll be out of here before July 4th.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Healy, do you have any?
No, I have no questions.
Okay. Ms. Lauder?
Who's the contractor?
The contractor is CRL, isn't it? CRL Contracting.
I'm familiar with them. Are you cutting into North Street at all?
We are not. No, the stub from Ship Street extends into, the stub from North Street at Ship does extend beyond the crosswalk and catch basins that are there.
Okay. So, all right, so we don't open up North Street. Very good. Okay, any other questions from
No, I'm
colleagues?
good.
All right, I have, just a moment. Are there any other questions from the board? No, okay.
No.
I'm at Ship Street. I'm not going to belabor this, but it's my position that this project is illegal. It does not comply with town bylaws. It does not comply with the special legislation that was voted in by the town. It doesn't comply with the town meeting votes that were voted by the town to create the North Sewer District. This is not as a result of a public health need, has never been as a result of a public health need, which is the whole reason why the North Sewer District was established, which was the reason why the sewer bylaw was implemented. This is solely designed to serve certain people's personal interest so that they can either create a house lot where none would otherwise exist unless they privately paid, like other people have been required to do in the town, to bring the sewer line up to their property, as well as people who would have to upgrade their septic and septic systems in order to sell. And there's several people who are looking to do that. And in fact, one person has already sold their property, and it's in the process of being renovated by a developer who plans now to hook into the sewer, assuming that it goes forward. So, this board, there's really no standard articulated in the bylaw as far as the grant to location, but it would seem to me that the standard would be in the best interest of the town. And this is not in the best interest of the town, not only because it violates applicable laws, including the bylaws, et cetera, but further, there's been multiple misrepresentations made about this project. And the latest misrepresentation that has been made is a letter that was sent out by the engineer, I believe, stating that the Sewer Commission is not going to require anyone to hook up once the line goes in. Well, your own, wherever Susan Murphy went to, she even published an article in MMA back in 2010 talking about how important it was to do your due diligence as far as applicable laws, et cetera, before the town undertakes a project, okay? And this issue has been out there. And in part of the special legislation, 1946, Section 15, I believe it was Chapter 82 of the Acts of 1946, specifically provided that at the same meeting the town adopts the special legislation, which occurred in 1955, the town can vote to require the people to hook up. And the Sewer Commission has to make a determination of a reasonable time. Doesn't say they can never is a reasonable time. And so the default position is, and the town adopted that at town meeting. So the default position is you have to hook up unless you, the property owner, petition the Board of Health and have the Board of Health make a finding that it's not reasonably likely that failure to hook up is going to be a public health issue. So the default position of the town, by law, is that you have to hook up. And the Sewer Commission can sit there and say, well, we're not making you hook up. But I think it's a little disingenuous, okay, given the fact of their involvement, and they have to make the determination of what is a reasonable time in which you do have to hook up, to sit there and say they know nothing about this. And I believe this is just part of the pacification of potential opposition to this project. And it speaks volumes to me that if they can't be honest brokers in this whole situation, it speaks to the merits of the project, or lack of the merits to the project. This, again, if you look at the history of the North Sewer District, the purpose of it was the town fought for 10 years to adopt this special legislation because there was the concern that this would result in development. And it came to this was for public health purposes. There is no public health need here. The proponents of this, the real proponents of this, which is not the Sewer Commission, the real proponents of this have an option that other people have been required to do in this town. The latest one, I believe, was over on the corner of Cole Road and Faring Road to pay privately to have the line installed. So this isn't an all or nothing situation. And realistically, as I've said before, this is no surprise, I will institute litigation, and I am extremely confident that I'm going to prevail. Okay. Now, as you know, Bruce, okay, with no disrespect, we had a conversation last year, okay, where I was forthcoming with you about what some of the issues that I saw that were problematic in this situation. And the due diligence hadn't been done. And everybody said I was wrong. And even Susan Murphy had to come back in to the advisory committee and admit that I was right. And let me assure you, I did not put all my cards on the table. Because based on my interactions with town government, I don't think the town government's been an honest broker with me, okay? So if you go forward and do this grant of location, rather than making them go back to the drawing board and do it the legal way, which if it's done the legal way and the outcome is adverse to what I would like, I can live with it. I may not like it, but I can live with it, okay? But the alternative here is that this is going to be another lawsuit with the town, and the potential that the town not only eats the cost of the litigation, but the entire project.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Any comments, Mr.?
Any other public comments?
No. Any other public comments besides Mr. Patch. Okay. We have reviewed this extensively in my recollection. We've had a hearing, we've had discussion on this. We've discussed that the one last piece of the action was not opening North Street. We took care of that in this design approach. I'll open it up for comments. Any comments from my colleagues, if there are none from the public? All right. No? Okay, then I will entertain a motion.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the request of the Hingham Sewer Commission to install and maintain approximately 910 feet of 8-inch sewer main and approximately 1,330 feet of low-pressure sewers in Ship Street and Cottage Street. The purpose of this sewer main extension is to provide service to the homes that wish to connect on Ship Street and Cottage Street. This approval is subject to the stipulation of the Department of Public Works, including letter dated April 14th, 2012.
Second. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Okay. The next matter before us is a shade tree hearing. And I
I'll hang out because I got to come out for 2 hours.
have some people who need to join us at this moment. I'll wait for them to come in the room. You all would make yourselves comfortable and have a seat. Thank you. I'll ask for these at an appropriate time. Thank you. This is an unusual event this evening. I've been a selectman for 6 years. I've never had one of these hearings. So this is a hearing under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 187, known as the Shade Tree Act, on the application of SEB Hingham, LLC, to remove 3 shade trees located at or near 901 Main Street. Section 1 of the Shade Tree Act states that all trees, and I quote, "all trees within a public way or the boundaries thereof shall be public shade trees." The matter is before the Board of Selectmen pursuant to Section 4 of the Shade Tree Act, which provides that the tree warden, in our town, that's the Superintendent of Public Works, shall not grant a permit for the cutting down of a public tree if he receives an objection in writing, unless the permit is approved by the Board of Selectmen. As the tree warden has received written objections on this matter to the cutting of these trees, this matter is now therefore before the Board of Selectmen. Now, the way we're going to conduct this hearing tonight is that our tree warden, Randy Sylvester, will present information related to the application and the procedure followed upon receipt of the application. And he will include in that information how shade trees are evaluated and his recommendations that he will make to this board. Then the applicant will have an opportunity to address the board as well. The board members will then ask questions of both the warden and the applicant. And then we'll open it up at that point to public comment, and any papers or documents, you may bring those forward at that time. And then we will have a moment to deliberate among ourselves on the outcome of the hearing. Is all of this understood by everybody? Okay, before we proceed? All right. Randy, if you'd be so kind.
Okay. We had Bob Angler of SEB contacted me asking me for a meeting regarding shade trees and the taking down of shade trees. We had that meeting, and unfortunately I don't remember the actual date, but we had the meeting. I explained that if any public shade tree, they were protected, they would have to have a shade tree hearing. The trees are rated, and I'd have to have have it in writing that they would like to take them down and what trees they were. And I asked if he was going to do that to mark them so we could go out and rate them. About a week later, I did receive a request on January 31st, 2014, by email, requesting that 3 shade trees be taken down for a proposed housing development. The 3 trees were a 17-inch Norway spruce, a 14-inch Norway maple, and an 8-inch Norway spruce. After that, we posted the trees, which we were required to do for 2 weeks. Notices were put in the paper and in the town hall and on the website. And what we do then is we go out and rate the trees. Jeff Handrahan, general foreman, who's basically in charge of the tree and park department, his department goes out and rate the trees, and he did a rating on the trees. Jeff, do you want to explain the rating that you
The rating
received?
goes from 1 to 12, and the way it's rated is the probability of target impact, size of defective parts, probability of failure, species rating. Each one of them has a rating of, the first one has a rating of 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 3, and 0 to 2 on the species. And they rated very low.
Okay. Could you summarize that for the public, what you have a system to rate them?
That's correct.
And you have
The 17-inch Norway spruce rated at a 5. It had some stem decay. The 14-inch Norway maple rated at a 4. There was some decay in it. And the other Norway spruce, an 8-inch, rated at a 10. It's basically a statue. There's no growth on that tree.
No growth. Okay, those are...
So the rating, this is a standard industry method that is used. So we go out anytime that we're asked about a tree, Jeff's department goes out and rates the tree, and we make a decision from this. This was all explained to the applicant. At that point, a hearing was scheduled, and we had the hearing. And I explained, I'll actually read it, as I explained that the shade tree hearing was requested by Bob Angler of SEB to remove the following trees in front of 895 901 Main Street, proposed housing development, 17-inch Norway spruce, 14-inch Norway maple, and 8-inch Norway spruce. I also explained that if there was any objections in writing, the hearing would have to be continued to the Selectmen's meeting to make a decision. I also noted that any trees affected by this project in the public way, a shade tree hearing would have to be held for those trees. I then asked the applicant to give a reason why they wanted it down. He proceeded, and then I asked if there was any other comments. A resident got up, and he actually sent us a letter, and he proposed the taking down the trees. So at that point, I closed the hearing and stated that it would have to come to the Selectmen for a decision.
Okay. Okay. Anything?
One other thing. I did explain to the applicant prior to that is that if the trees did come down, there would be a replacement cost. Anytime a tree comes down, because it's an asset of the town, we require a replacement per inch at diameter at breast height. That's the industry standard, and that is in our regulations for street openings.
Okay. Is that everything?
That's everything.
Does town council have any comment on this, at this matter, or would you okay. I'd like to, if there are no questions yet of my peers, we'll wait until the applicant has an opportunity to present their petition. So, Mr. Angler, please. That's fine, if you wouldn't mind. Just introduce yourself for the folks at home. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the record.
That should come up a little.
Just the adjustment.
There's an adjustment knob there. Here we go. Ted will have to have strong hands to do this. There you go. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the record. My name is Jeff Angler from SEB LLC, and I represent the applicant, in this case, SEB Hingham LLC. just for a little bit of context relative to the request to remove the 3 shade trees, the request is really as a result of the traffic analysis that was performed both by our transportation engineer, MDM transportation consultant, as well as the town's peer review consultant, who's Jeffrey Dirk from Vaness and Associates. Without going into too much detail, for any housing development under Chapter 40B, there's an analysis done relative to sightline visibility for cars entering and exiting the proposed driveway. And based on a rate of travel along the road, there is a required minimum sight distance in order to make sure that the cars entering and exiting the primary driveway have enough sight line visibility to see cars coming in both directions. So both transportation engineers determined, based on the analysis that was done in the field, that there's a 325-foot minimum requirement in terms of sightline visibility. Now, the three trees in question here are impeding that minimum sightline visibility. So our transportation engineer, MDM, identified, and I submitted, I can submit this again, I submitted it for the record earlier this week, but it's basically...
We have that, I think. We've got that.
You're okay?
Yep,
Okay.
we have that.
It shows the driveway entrance, and it shows the 3 trees, the 3 shade trees in the right-of-way that need to be removed in order to meet that minimum sightline visibility requirement. And it's important to note that the town's own peer review consultant concurred with our engineer and said, yes, these 3 trees, if removed, will make the project conform to the minimum sightline visibility. It's also important to note that we believe that this, while a state law is interpreted locally, and as such could be waived by the zoning board, but as a show of good faith, we told the zoning board as part of the public hearing process that we would appear before you all as part of the normal due process. So here we are tonight with our application. So it's not that, yes, the trees need to be removed, but it's a safety-related requirement. It's not like, we're putting a unit there or we're, building something. It's strictly for the safety of people entering and exiting the site. Now, there's also an important note here. Our proposed driveway is in the identical location within a foot or two of the existing driveway, and there's somebody that lives at 895 Main Street that is entering and exiting that driveway every day. And now it's been identified they're entering and exiting a driveway that has an unsafe condition in one direction. So if I could just read one sentence from the shade tree general law, it says, nothing contained in this chapter shall prevent the trimming, cutting, or removal of any tree which endangers persons traveling on a highway. And that's the state law. And as far as we're concerned, that's the issue in a nutshell. The removal of the tree is at a request because it relates to not only the safety of people entering and exiting the proposed driveway, but people traveling along Main Street that will never enter or exit into the driveway. So it has safety repercussions for the residents of Hingham and other people traveling up and down Main Street. I don't know if my father has anything to add to that, but we're happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that statement very much. Okay. Are there any comments from any other questions that I'd like to ask my colleagues to ask either the applicant or the tree warden? So, Irma, do you want any comments?
Yes, let me ask Mr. Engler. The driveway that you referred to, is your roadway in going to be the same width? And is it going to be the same as it is now?
More or less. The driveway now is a combination of paved and dirt, whereas our roadway will be a more formal 22-foot wide. But relative to the opening, we're not removing any trees in the right-of-way to build our driveway, if that answers your question. The 3 trees in question relates strictly to sightline visibility, so there'll be no removal of trees as part of our driveway. And it's not a public road, or we're not asking the town to assume control of it. It's just out a driveway that would service the proposed units, which incidentally have been, as of last night, reduced now to 16 units from the original 20 in our original application.
Okay, thank you.
Randy, I'm sorry.
It's in the same location. I don't know. It was a long-winded answer. I don't know if I addressed it.
I understand you went late last night, and I heard there were revisions, so.
Right.
Okay.
No, but relative to your original question, the driveway is basically in the same location.
But the same width?
You know, I don't know the width of the existing driveway.
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
I know the quality of work that you do. I know the quality of work that Mr. Hanrahan, sitting next to you, does, Jeff, in terms of the trees. I think your analysis has been excellent. Question to you, if you were to make a finding now without it having to come here, can I ask that, or?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I have the same question. Okay, if you wouldn't mind. No, I just want to make
Me
sure.
first.
No, are there any technical questions of either? that
No,
you
I
want?
think the analysis that the two men have given us is of the quality that they always produce, and I thank them both very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Healy, any questions?
Yeah, a few.
Yep.
Good to see you again, Mr. Ringler.
Good to see you.
We last chatted on the Erickson project. Still vivid in my mind. Have you determined whether or not the Shade Tree Act has been invoked with any of the other roadways in the immediate area of this proposed development?
I don't have any idea.
Okay. Do you have any insight as to whether the Shade Tree Act was enacted with respect to the remodeling of the South School? How about the water company? And the proposed revision that you're submitting with respect to this site, is this the third or the fourth iteration of what you're proposing? Is there a reason why you're not submitting this to the ZBA for their opinion with respect to the removal of the shade trees?
Bob Engler, for the record, you did that on purpose.
Did.
We submitted it to the ZBA. We believe it's a local ordinance as interpreted by 40B, just like the subdivision laws are state laws interpreted locally and can be waived under 40B. We made a request to waive it. We were left with the impression that from council and the zoning board that, they might not choose to waive it if it were a state law. So we said, rather than debate that at the time, we'll come here and go through the normal process. We're still reserving our rights to request a waiver and appeal and denial of that waiver, because it's basically a safety question for us. It's not the quality of the tree. We're not arguing about the scoring system. We're saying they're in an unsafe position. Hanging over the road makes it unsafe for pedestrians. I know what we've been through before on the 40B, and so we'll go back to the zoning board if we fail to get through here and say we think it's a local bylaw and we request a waiver, and we'll see what happens.
Well, what do you say to the comment that you're fractionalizing the review process by having a safety aspect, a single safety aspect of your design proposal be handled by one board as opposed to having it submitted to the ZBA?
We would prefer to have it all handled by the zoning board.
Then why didn't you leave it with the ZBA? And if you were dissatisfied, exercise a right here, just as a strategy
We can
question.
come back here if they didn't give it to us.
Just a
Well,
question.
I think the general consensus was to come and see what could happen here, so they wouldn't have to take up the issue whether it's a local waivable bylaw or not. So we did it trying to work things out with the zoning board. Believe me, we didn't want to go back and forth on this kind of fractionalization.
Well, you elected to come here. They didn't tell you to come here, right?
They left a very strong impression that
But
they may
well-
not be able to vote it as a state law. They may not be in a position to waive it.
Mr. Healy, if I would, I think it's consistent a little bit with us going before the Board of Health and before Conservation, in that from our perspective, the zoning board can interpret, whether or not those local bylaws can be waived. But we went forward with those boards, and a lot of municipalities we work with, we never go forward with those boards. We go and deal exclusively with the zoning board. In this instance, Emily Wentworth and the board and council advised us to go to the Board of Health and Concom. We didn't have to, but we thought, they're asking, we'll do it. We were under the impression that they would like us to come before this group. We're not trying to do anything nefarious. We're not looking for special treatment. We're not looking for a end around. We're doing it, because we're trying to be helpful, not because we have some other ulterior motive. So,
Well, I'm not implying you are, but isn't it true that the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission have distinct jurisdictions with respect to the 40B review process?
Yeah.
All right, so it's apples and oranges bringing this up here with us, right?
Well, this is a vague issue about whether you would appreciate the ordinance as a local or state ordinance, whether you have control over it or the zoning board. It's unclear to us.
I'm concerned that you're fractionalizing the safety review that I think would appropriately be treated by the ZBA analysis coming in here.
That's your call.
It is. Before I comment, are there any questions from the public? That
Can I ask one follow-up? But I won't ask my other question yet.
Okay, all right, before I do that, Ms. Lauder has a question. Go ahead.
To follow up, because I was saving the previous shade tree hearing question for a follow-up, but since Paul has thrown it out there, do we have information on anything along that corridor where other shade tree hearings have been held?
I have not found any.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that they weren't held. It's just that I have not been able to find any in the records.
Okay. Okay.
I have a vague recollection of undergoing that
Yeah.
process with the South School.
Did we go through that on the South School?
And the
And then
remodel in the
also
90s.
on the water company,
On the water
there appears to be.
Okay. Okay, before I go back to Randy with a comment, any other questions from the public who are maybe here? Okay. Randy, do you have if you were to have heard this, do you have a recommendation to the board?
Well, what we do, and I'll recommend what we normally do, I don't think it's any different, is we strictly go by the rating, so it's not arbitrary. And usually, if a tree comes out 10 or 11 and 12 on the rating, then we would take it down. Anything under that can be maintained, we would recommend to keep it up and maintain it. And on the rating sheet, there is some, Jeff always makes notes on what we were going to do in the future. So there is, we want to line prune it and cut back the crown. So one tree, we would say, would come down, the other two would stay.
So one of the three would be...
One of the three.
And that's because of its shape, its
Because of
condition?
the rating.
The rating.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. Any other questions from my colleagues? Council, are there any questions from council on this? If you wouldn't mind.
I'm not tall enough for that.
Okay.
Borrow your microphone for 1 second. No, I do believe the anglers are here because I did do research. There is no 40B that's down with the shade tree hearing. In fact, the only shade tree cases I could really find were from the 1930s, so it's not something that gets litigated very frequently. But I do want to state for the record, as I stated last night at the ZBA meeting, and the chairman of the hearing, Joe Fisher, said the same thing. There was a lively discussion about this waiver because it is not something the zoning board's dealt with before, and because we couldn't find any research on it. I had not yet determined what the status of the town's rights in the way were, whether they were fee or easement, and whether there were easement issues. And, so there was a lively debate, but there were two meetings. There was a meeting in December where I said to the zoning board, and it's in the minutes, this may just be a local action that the board should take over. So, the applicant has made a decision voluntarily to make the application and go forward with this. And, that was a choice that they made. The ZBA has not made a decision on any of the waivers that was before them on this application. So I just want to make sure that that was clear for the record.
Okay, thank you. Pam, you had some... Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, that's fine if you want to, if you could just introduce yourself.
Deirdre White, I'm the owner of 901 Main Street, and I'm just here as a concerned parent. I know there's always been, some challenges getting out of my driveway, and I just, now that it's been proven by more than one source that that is a safety violation, of course, I'm, that much more concerned about entering and exiting, and, I just think, I don't want to get, it seems silly to go back and forth between committees for someone to make a decision. Well, I have an issue coming in out of my driveway that, God forbid something should happen to me or to my daughter as I'm coming in and out. Who would be considered negligent at that point, given that everybody's aware of it?
Okay.
So I just would prefer the matter be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment. Are there any other questions? All right. We have a recommendation from our tree warden that says one tree down, 2 to remain. If the board were to consider that proposal, what are the implications that we should, in terms just the safety issue that has come before us? Are there any that anybody can give us input on?
As far as the rating and the trees go, there are none.
Okay.
Sightlines, I haven't looked at the sightlines. I was asked to look at the trees, and that's what we did.
Okay.
As far as the trees, there's no sidewalk on that side of the street. They rate out to be a good tree. They do need maintenance, but it's a good tree.
Okay, and this issue has not been raised before? I think that was the comment I just heard, that you built your house and live in your house, and this safety issue has not come to your attention before?
Well, no, it was always a bit of a challenge getting in and out of the driveway.
Okay.
But it's been confirmed that there is some safety hazard there now, and I don't see what the point is making it persist.
Okay.
We have not received any complaints to look into at that location.
Well, I never really hired a traffic study done on it either. I mean, I'm just a resident, so I didn't know that it was officially violating any lines of, safety issues.
Just making the point that we've never received any calls.
Okay.
Have you ever asked the traffic committee to look into this for any of this area along here?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Administrator.
I wanted to make sure the board was aware that we did, and we have received numerous emails through the webpage, our website, from residents within the area. I think it would be fair, Betty, to characterize them all substantially in opposition to removal of any of the trees. I don't believe we received any except for the letter we just received that we're in support, and we indicated to all the homeowners that we'd be having the hearing today. And I guess I would give you my input and advice that you have one tree that doesn't meet your rating system. I think a board action on that would be reasonable. I think the other trees, if you're going to consider the safety issue violations, I think we'd have to go back to, and Prudence would say, go back to the traffic committee, talk to the police chief, and let's take a look at that before making a motion to remove them, if that was the intention of the board.
Okay.
Can I just follow up on your
Come up.
I didn't
You have to come up.
I didn't know that there was any, I don't know all these bylaws. I didn't know there was any recourse for me when I'm coming out of my driveway and I'm, to do anything about it. So I never really looked into it.
Okay.
That would be a good time maybe to tell the public there is recourse if that does occur.
There is a
people are
traffic
feeling-
committee.
There is a traffic committee that comes before us on many occasions to address issues of safety, and I think we do that regularly.
And frequently, those come right through to the selectman's office. So if residents are out there and they have issues like you, and they're pulling out of their driveway, they're uncomfortable, let us know, and we'll look into it.
And they always have a very busy agenda.
So this is okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
All right. We've heard give you my view, and I'll open it up for debate. I know this, when we have experts and we have people who work hard at this issue, and they've come forward with a proposal to us. And I've learned that unless there's something that has been dramatically incorrect in the process, which there has not, in this case, we're dealing with shade trees and the removal or not of those trees. So my opinion would be we have a recommendation to remove one tree. What does that do to the project is something that I think would have to be decided by somebody else. It's not us. That would be my position, but I'll open it up for discussion for my colleagues if they have a different position.
No, I support your position. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Randy and Jeff's analysis. I think it's very good.
Okay, thank you. Paul, any comment?
I have a problem with you being here in the first place, to be candid. I think you should have stayed at the ZBA. With respect to you, ma'am, you're a single-car driveway. We're talking about, what do you have now, 16 units? I think there's a night and day difference between the safety issues with respect to a single resident. I live on the street too. Sometimes it's difficult getting out of my driveway with a line of sight issue. I don't think you're done with your vetting with the ZBA. I have great confidence in their ability to process the complex information that you've presented to them. And I think that that is the place where this issue should be decided, not here.
Well, I'm going to take council's advice on this. It came to us because an appeal was made, and therefore, unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, it's in front of us. And therefore, and we have a recommendation that would have been the decision if it had not come from us, is my interpretation of, and we have a process that we follow, and as long as we follow our process, we don't get accused of either changing the rules on the fly or trying to evaluate and make a decision that is based on misinformation. So since it's before us, it would say to me that further action on this would be decided by the ZBA. That's where this is going back anyway. This is, as I understand it, an independent event. The process has to go forward. We have a recommendation from our staff, which I am comfortable accepting, which would say a motion that we would remove one tree and leave the other two. And that would be consistent with our practice, if that's...
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
For the record,
I have one more question. You have to come up.
Lucas, I would just ask that you, for the record, note which of the
I was gonna do
trees
that.
had that raised.
Thank you, Susan.
how about if I do that when
Would you-
he's done?
Just, all
Okay.
right, we're going to amend our vote in a moment, but
I'm Sean Papich, 4 Highfield Road here in Hingham. One question on the removal of the 8-inch Norway spruce. If you take out the 8-inch Norway spruce, do you have to replace it in kind per caliper inch and number? Do we say 3, 2.5 inch or something like that have to be replaced? Do you know?
There's not a lot of room there for a replacement. You could, replace it somewhere in there, but
Typically, if there's a tree that is going to be taken down, it is that the tree will be placed DVH for the inches, and that cost is $100 an inch.
Okay. So if there are, some of the thoughts I had were whether or not you would replace them in the area, the general area where the other one stands. So there are larger stand of trees in the area.
It's up to us, and we've been working with the Shade Tree Committee on replacement trees.
Great.
We would ask for their recommendation.
Okay. That's all I wanted to ask.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for your comment. All right, we're going to amend the motion.
Okay,
Irma, would
let
you
me see
please-
if I can do this. I'll make a motion to amend the previous motion to approve the removal of an 8-inch Norway spruce and deny the removal of a 14-inch Norway maple and a 17-inch Norway spruce tree around 901 Main Street.
Okay, Thank you.
I would only just add, if you could indicate the hazard rating of the tree that is going to be voted to be removed.
Good point,
Okay,
Paul.
so amended with a hazard rating of 10.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank God it's taped, right?
Yeah.
The tape, watch the tape and see
Watch
what
the
we
tape.
actually did.
Randy, Jeff, thank you very much for your input. Thank you.
If you want to go out of order, Pat Goggin is here. That would take 5 minutes, the Corcoran contract.
Hey, all right, how are you?
Down in the potential votes, in the back of the room.
Is he?
Yeah, because he should be in and out of here in 5 minutes. Yeah,
Are you sure?
yeah, it's an easy one.
Okay. We have a Corcoran contract. We have a proposal from one of our members to advance, and Roger, if you would indulge us for a moment. We have a contract discussion from Corcoran. We have somebody here from Corcoran. I see you in the back. Come up, sir. I understand you're only going to take a couple of minutes. If you take longer than that, the gavel goes, and so do you. So, all right. Okay, that'd be great.
Estimate, Patrick Coggin.
Yeah.
For the record, on behalf of the Board of Managers for Lincoln School.
Yes, sir.
We have a recommendation for you that I think is in front of you with respect to the management contract for the town's building. After an RFP went out and we went through a review process for a management firm, we have a recommendation that the board engage Corcoran, who's the current management company, for Lincoln School for an additional year.
Okay. Any questions? Irma, you obviously know something about this matter. If you
Hello,
would be so-
I did not purposely did not take part in the evaluation, but I want to commend the whole Lincoln School Board of Managers. They went through every piece of paper, and we received substantial documentation from 3 different companies. The residents, when word spread, were absolutely delighted. Many of us got phone calls. I got a half a dozen phone calls. They're very happy with Corcoran. The good news for us, the Board of Managers and the town, is there are other qualified companies out there that could be potential bidders at some point if Corcoran chooses to exit this line of business. So a lot of kudos to Patrick and the rest of the Board of Managers.
Yeah, we've done that before, and I'll endorse it again. Okay, any comment, Paul?
Nothing.
Okay. Irma, you want to lead the motion,
Sure.
please?
Make a motion to enter into a contract with Corcoran Management Company for Lincoln School Apartments.
For an annual contract?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see the one here.
$45,000 annually.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-year contract.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. To end.
1-year contract?
Uh,
2 more years.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't see this, I just saw the other. Okay, I make a motion to enter into a contract for property management services at Lincoln School Apartments with Corcoran Management Company for an annual contract value of $45,000 with an option to extend this contract up to 2 years.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion?
It's 2 additional years.
That's it.
Okay.
Up to-
That's what
yeah.
it says, up to 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that being done, any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Pat. Okay. There he is. Mr. Fernandez. And Mr. Sylvester, town engineer and his number 1 sidekick.
Thank you, Mr. Rebuffo. All unspoken, unwritten knowledge of the town's roadways.
He knows where every plow goes. That's right.
Taking it with him. We actually have first of all, thank you for having us tonight. We actually have a video presentation for you tonight. It's our annual road building update where we discuss not only where we are, where we were, and where we hope to be going. So with that, if you will indulge me, I'll dim the lights just a little bit, and hopefully the video works.
Oh dear, everybody will be asleep. I wouldn't do that, Roger.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, that would help.
No, he's got it over there.
Oh. Golly, we're getting good at this.
So, I guess I can start off by just saying that the town has approximately 110 miles of roadway, and that roadway has an asset value of $122 million. So,
Hold on just a second. The folks at home can't see it. We have a...
into the wall.
All right.
You see, it wouldn't be a presentation without some sort of technical failure, right?
Okay.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Sorry. Took care of it for you, Bob. Technical expertise.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay. All right.
So, onward. So, quick history here. The Board of Selectmen in 2010 called for a comprehensive evaluation of our town roads. And at that time, we reported back with the following costs, conditions, condition assessment, and a plan. The present cost at that time to bring the roads from where they were to up where they needed to be. When we say needed to be, we were shooting for excellent. It would have involved a capital investment of over $26 million. So at that time, we proposed a 25-year investment plan to bring the roadways to a higher standard. And in order to do that, we needed to consider two things. One is what would it cost to maintain the roads at their present condition, and two, obviously, what would it cost to bring the roads to an improved condition. And that $1.1 million that you see up there on the slide represents a maintained sort of approach, and an additional investment would obviously improve the roads. So to the right of that, you see a pie chart, and the pie chart does that. It tells you how much of our roads at that time were in excellent condition, and it tells you what the cost would be for those roads. Excellent being there would be no investment whatsoever if it's in good condition. And then certainly as we go from good to fair to poor and to failure, those costs rise exponentially. And if you were to add those numbers up, hopefully they would come up to about $26 million. The way we did that is we actually looked at every segment of road in the entire town. We assigned a value, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to those segments of roadway. And from that, we could determine what kind of approach was going to be necessary and what that would cost per square yard. So that's how those values were developed. So at that time, again, in order to really improve our infrastructure, we were looking at a $300,000 per year investment, additional investment. So again, we rated the roads, and the list below that, under the years, sort of tells us where we were percentage-wise. So in 2011, 11% of our roads were in excellent shape. In 2012, we were able to increase that to 15.5%. In 2013, almost 31%. And there in 2014, you see that we're almost 40% of our roads are better than what they were. They're in excellent condition. You'll also see below that a call-out, maintain it first approach reflected here. And what we do is we have to manage the investment in such a way that we don't spend all the money on failed roads without considering the need to maintain the roads that have not entered into the failure. And the next slide will illustrate that a little better. So we really target those roads, and you'll see that a lot of those roads, the percentages actually reduce because they've actually shifted from good, fair, and poor up to excellent. So we have to consider the funding needs, how much we can manage, how much work we can manage when we tackle this, and the implications on the community in terms of where we are and how much disruption the work will cause, and any pending utilities that require replacement or upgrading prior to our investment in the roads, so that we're not digging up the roads, or the utilities are not digging up the roads after we pave them. So looking ahead, in 2014, we anticipate undertaking almost $1.6 million worth of road work. And this year, we had an exceptionally bad year in terms of weather. So the roads, instead of getting progressively worse, they got progressively worse quicker. And in talking to the town administrator, we felt that this was a year where it would make sense for us to actually reach forward. And by that I mean we try to target the available money such that when April comes and May the following year, we're not left with any funding available to undertake the work. The money becomes available fiscally here in the town July 1st, and state aid, unfortunately, up until maybe recently, that money also becomes available to us very late in the construction season, sometimes June and July, late June and July. Well, we can't wait around until June and July to start work. So typically we carry enough money over to the following year so that we can start work right away. There's less impact on the schools, and we kind of get out of everyone's way before, again, school starts. But this year, again, we kind of reached forward, so we tapped some of that money in the upcoming year so that we're doing more in terms of road work this year and investing more earlier than we typically do, again, because we've seen such a bad year and some significant degradation in the road. So this is a common question that we get: how do roads get selected? And this will be online if you can't see it very well, but we evaluate the roadway condition, safety as well as structurally. We balance cost versus the cost, reconstruction versus maintenance, something I just talked about. Where does it make sense to rip up the road where it's more expensive, and where does it make sense to sort of maintain our roads and keep them, the ones that are in good, fair, and poor condition, so that they don't go into a failure. We coordinate needed pavement resurfacing with street, water, sewer, and underground utility improvements. I think Fort Hill Street is an example of that. It's on our list. That's a
You know I was going to do that to you, Roger.
But I think that you'll find that a lot of most of the work that we do, almost all the work that we do, does not subsequently require digging up by a utility company, and we're very proud of that. And it took us a while to get there. We consider usage. How much of the populace does the road get utilized by? So if you live on a dead-end street and it's a one-family home, and you might need reconstruction or you might need some sort of maintenance approach, we respect that and we understand that. But is there a location in town where we get more heavy commuter traffic, and it would serve more of the folks in town versus that one dead-end street? And then construction scheduling and location coordination by targeting an area of town for construction. So you'll find that what we do is we actually try not to jump all over town and reconstruct the road, that is geographically in a different location of town from another project in town. And by doing that, we're able to find some efficiency in the construction work. We're able to impact the neighborhood one time, and hopefully we don't see you again for another 20 or 30 years. And so there's also cost savings in doing that in terms of mobilization and quantity of work put out. And this curve and this slide is one that I typically present to the selectmen, and it talks about why it's important to maintain our roads. So it is always less expensive to maintain and defer reconstruction, extending the life of the pavement. Studies show that if every additional dollar spent on preventive maintenance treatment saves up to $10 in future rehabilitation costs, where future rehabilitation costs can be defined as full-depth reconstruction, where we have to go in, and you've probably seen the process, and rip up the road and have a whole do-over. That cost is much higher than going in and maintaining the road early on. And the curve that you see shows a precipitous drop if we don't do that. So it becomes a lot more expensive if we don't try to catch that roadway before it gets to the drop in that curve.
Okay.
So what do we have for funding? We have two basic sources of funding, although we have one additional one this year, which I'll talk about. One is our Chapter 90 program, money we receive from the state aid. And the blue graph on the left indicates what we've seen historically for funding, and you'll see that we've actually seen more funding over the last 3 years as a happenstance when we started to implement this process, this plan that the Board of Selectmen asked us to. And so it reflects positively on our improvement in the road and the percentage that I indicated where the roads have actually, we've gone from a 10% to a 40% improvement in our road, and that's in large part because we've seen an increase in funding. We've also seen an increase in funding from the town side. Our road building account has gone up substantially with a $75,000 investment every year for the last 4 years. In addition to that, there was just recently, last week, an announcement from the governor's office that there's an additional program, a funding source, the Winter Rapid Recovery Road Program, which will infuse an additional $112,000 that we did not have, again, up until last week. We just found this out. So that's going to help us as we move forward.
Do you know when that's coming, Raj?
It's actually, we've just submitted and signed the contract, and the money should be available to us right away.
Good.
From what they tell us, yeah.
Roger, are you going to speak later about how the other source of funding you have is the savings you get from coordination with utilities where they pay some of the road building costs?
Yep, I think that's important to hit on. So, as you know, Bruce, and but for everyone else, we did for a while have a sort of contentious relationship with some of our utilities. We weren't happy with early on with the way things were progressing in terms of them bringing their utilities up to snuff before we pave our roads. But as an outfall of that, we actually entered into what's called a cost-sharing approach with them. So where they go into the road and we know we're going to reconstruct it, in lieu of them investing in a permanent patch, which is more expensive, we say to them, go ahead and just put a temporary patch in. And the difference between the cost of a permanent patch and a temporary patch, we just want you to cut us a check. And to sort of give you an order of magnitude, or it could be as much as $30,000 a year. And in some years, it's $5,000. It really depends on how much infrastructure they have to improve and how that correlates with our work. But that's an additional funding source that we're able to then put back in our roads without any loss to us as a community in terms of what they owe us.
Paul? Could I just interrupt you there?
Sure, absolutely.
The difference between the temporary and the permanent patch, how is that measured in terms of its lifespan?
So we have a road, for example, Cottage Street, and that whole section where the sewer work's going to take place. They put down 2 inches, and we ideally, 1 year would be nice. In that case, it's been down for a couple of years. And anything more than that, then it could become problematic in that the trench would fail, the trench patch would fail. So we really have to make sure that if they're doing that work, that we're going to be right behind them within a year or two at the very latest. Anything more than that, then it becomes a management issue of the trench itself. The pavement comes apart.
So the temporary patch is good for a couple of years?
Yes.
So that kind of drives the maintenance schedule that you have to follow. You're basically chasing the utility work.
Right. So we meet with them every year. We meet with all the utilities every year. The 5-year plan that you're going to see here, they see as well. So we sit down with them, and they say to us, well, this is what we like to do, and Harry's very much involved in all of this, and we say, that's nice, but this is what we need you to do. So they go ahead, and for the most part, I think you'll see that in the town of Hingham, there's been a great deal of utility upgrades. 5, 6, 7 years ago, that wasn't the case. We had some roads where the utilities were literally almost 100 years old. And so at that point, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when these things are going to fail. And that's something that we're happy to say we're sort of avoiding at this point.
What's the condition of the water pipes that you're seeing?
It depends where we're talking about. I think that there are some locations where the water company, as of late, has begun to replace a lot of their infrastructure. Some of it was sort of long overdue. I don't have a good sense of their overall infrastructure, what that age is and how that looks. All I can tell you with the fair amount of certainty is that as of late, there's been a lot more.
Okay, did they give you a 5-year plan?
They have not.
No, they have not.
Yeah.
So we developed the 5-year plan, and then they respond for the next year. Is that fundamentally
Yeah.
and is that true with the other utilities, or do others give you?
We get a more comprehensive plan, for example, from National Grid and the gas company. We hadn't 5 years ago, but now we do. So they give us a better idea where.
Do you get anything from Telco?
From who?
From Verizon?
No, and generally, they're doing a lot less digging in the road, and so there isn't that need, but they are aware of the plan. They do receive the plan, they do understand, and there is coordination with them, but they're not digging up the road like gas and water typically does.
There's been a lot. In fact, I read an article in one of the technical journals I get about the aging infrastructure across the country, in both, especially in gas and electric and water. Telco thankfully wasn't mentioned, but especially in gas, electric, and water.
Yeah.
As far as the Aquarian goes, they replaced some of the main that had some aged galvanized pipe in. For example, East Street, they went before us and did that. Union Street, there's been a leak history because, apparently with the water going to the state park, they've caused some problems turning it on or off seasonally. I guess that's what I understand. So they're replacing that. They're going to continue to replace a piece going down Free Street that's had a leak history. But water generally doesn't have, a leak history unless there's a reason for it. They've had 2 recent water breaks up in Bel Air Road, all in the same location. And from what I understand, the water main was placed on on a sewer trench that has been settling over time. And it's putting added stress on the pipe. That's why it, had a leak in that one location from what the information I was able to gather. It's very difficult to predict, why a water pipe may break if it's, even if it's an 8-inch pipe, if it's an iron pipe or steel pipe. Most of the galvanized pipe, they've been pretty aggressive replacing, and I'm not sure if there's much left in town.
Harry, is there any common characteristic with respect to these pipe leaks that you've seen in terms of either what kind of material it is or trying to wrap around this whole leak history thing? And I mean, is the leak history when it starts bubbling out of the ground?
Yeah,
is that
pretty
how
much.
you're basically saying?
Yeah, and for the most part, most of your leaks, we've experienced in town from, our perspective have been on service connections, not on main leaks. Of course, you always get a main leak that surprised you, like the one on Main Street at Elm Street a couple of years ago that took out, 3/4 of the road. But that pipe was in the ground for, 70 years or whatever it was, and there was no indication there would have been a leak there. So, it's very difficult to predict, and it's harder to get them on a replacement schedule because you don't know if the pipe's going to, leak or not. If it's a good cast iron or good ductile iron pipe, it could last a lot longer. When you're talking about gas is a much, it's a bare steel pipe. It's not as thick and heavy a diameter. We're talking about a 100-year-old pipe that has a leak history, and that's why they're pulling it out of the ground and replacing it.
Okay. Thank you, Roger, if you would.
Okay, so one other thing I just want to point out, I think it's an important aspect, it's the price volatility in the asphalt itself, the liquid asphalt, the petroleum products. In the graph above, you can see what diesel prices have done over the last, 11 years. And below that, you can see what the hot mix asphalt prices have done over the last 11 years. So we've seen some spikes, but it just keeps going up. And so, in the hot mix asphalt world, it is dependent on the transportation products, the diesel fuel, and it represents 36% of that cost. So trends, in 2010, the town's underfunded infrastructure liability was $26,266,000. So we reran those calculations today, and 4 years later, 5 years later, and we're at $19,968,000. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it. We're talking about a 25-year plan, and we chipped 5 years down the road. We chipped away at $5 million of the liability. And the blue line signifies, again, those roads, percentage-wise, where we are and how it's gone up. And the green and purple and light blue line is going down, which is good. We want the poor and the failed roads to be, we want less of those and more of the good stuff. So that's the way we want those curves to go.
Okay.
2013, these are the roads that we completed. Again, this will be on the website, but these are the roads that we did last year. And in 2014, we're proposing Abington Street, Burdett Ave. You'll note that Cole, Cottage, Ferry, that whole neck of the woods, that's where the sewer replacement is going to take place. Currently, the schedule that Randy presented is not going to affect our schedule, so he'll be wrapping up there, and shortly thereafter, we'll be coming in behind him. And there's 16 in year 17 and 18. Again, this will all be online. And additional information, we go through great pains to try to make sure that our residents are notified, they know where we're going. So this GIS map, it'll be online. It needs to be updated to reflect 2018. The map itself will indicate the limits of the work. It'll tell you what year we're proposing that work. We also plan on notifying our residents, as we have in the past, plus one additional aspect, and that'll include the website. We physically hand-deliver notices to the residents. We post something in the newspaper, and this year we want to add a social media aspect, Twitter. And for those folks who, and I don't Twitter, so this is going to be new for me. I don't tweet. But fortunately, we have folks who do tweet. We're going to try to, if those folks subscribe when things change, and they do change in our world. If it rains, if there are delays, if we can't get a contractor in, we ask for your patience. But if those changes do manifest themselves, we hope to be able to notify those people who do subscribe by way of Twitter, immediately. As soon as we know something, we will make that available to you.
And so we're going to do that this year on our first initiative with our communications consultant. And so IT has created the backbone, and our communications consultant will help bridge the gap between the folks in the field, Roger, and the IT folks, and get that message out, because we get in our office a lot of calls from people concerned when the construction starts in the morning. Regardless of how many times we put it in the paper or how many times we put it in the newspaper, people live busy lives and they miss it. And so there's a segment of the population that likes to use this, and we think we're going to be able to get it out there very successfully this year.
That's great.
And we want to implement one sign as part of the project, and we'd like the Board of Selectmen to make this declaration if possible, and it's the following. So if the road's closed, you're excused from work today. Do that for us, and if you can do that, we really...
That's for non-municipal employees.
Non-municipal employees, right.
Want a winning lottery ticket too?
Okay. You can turn the lights back on. Thank you, Roger. Thank you very much. Let's see, Irma, you have a question?
Roger, thank you very much, you and Harry. Couple questions for you. Are there any plans to have an app where residents, because many towns now have this, especially AAA-rated towns, where residents can report potholes? Because I want to be the first to do that. We did contribute to the Thomas Auto Body Pension Fund this year because our little Jeep found a very attractive pothole.
Ditto.
So we made a significant contribution to their, but it's,
You and Ted.
no, I'm telling you.
We don't discriminate in this town, that's good.
And we do like Thomas Auto Body, but it was nice to be able to contribute to their pension fund.
Well, I think on that question, I'd probably defer to Randy. Only reason is that ultimately it's Randy and his guys that have to patch the holes, and if I say yes, he might kill me.
And before Randy jumps in there, I will say that I have been in conversation with Garrett Bradley, and Representative Bradley is exploring some type of a program through his own efforts for communities, and we want to coordinate that with him when we're ready to deal with it on our side for staff purposes.
At this point, we have nothing.
Except phone calls.
Phone calls.
Yeah.
And emails. We accept phone calls, emails, we put it in the system, and we get it as soon as we get there, 24 hours.
Yeah, you did it.
As long as the weather is good.
As I recall, last year, I can't remember, if summer or spring, you did very quickly take care of remember, seemingly potholes over in the parking lot behind?
A lot of them.
So you personally looked, but your guys were really good, because this was
Yes.
in the
Yes, I do
parking
remember
lot
that, yeah.
behind Hingham Institute for Savings, and they were a safety hazard.
As long as we're notified and residents can call us anytime, we put it in the program, gets right in, goes on the list, and they're taken care of.
The other question, oops, I'm sorry.
We're running behind.
I'm sorry, just one more question. Roger, why, my disappointment is I don't see much in South Hingham here. And the roads there, especially in the Farm Hills area, really are awful. They're, in some cases, I think, as bad as the Martins Lane, which I'm really glad you bumped up this year. But why is so little money being spent on roadways down in South Hingham?
Well, I think I can't argue with the need, because we get that question quite a bit. And so it isn't really, if someone could stand up and make certainly an argument for a lot of locations in town where the roads need to be redone. And with that, I'm with you 100%. And so when someone calls and says my road looks like old Beirut, I say to them, you're right, it does. It just comes down to prioritizing this stuff. There is a subjective sort of approach in one aspect, but the measurement of the road and what needs to happen to it and how we look at that, it is objective. But we would welcome any other suggestions, but you're right, it would need something, and so does a lot of other places.
To Irma's point, on your scale, you could list the roads on each scale. What's excellence, what's fair, what's for that, and you have that, right?
We have it, yeah.
So we can look at that, and as you say, we're moving them up the list.
It's getting better, yeah.
I think the appearance, is a little different than reality. I mean, we paved all of Cushion Street, we've paved a half dozen roads in Liberty Pole. 3 or 4 years ago, we did the Upland Road neighborhood, Sawmill Pond Road neighborhood, Mast Hill Road neighborhood, all in South Hingham. Hope Road neighborhood was done probably 8 or 9 years ago, still in excellent shape, Prospect Street. So we've tried to really, this year we're doing Abington Street, that's way up in South Hingham. But, we've tried to balance it out where the need is and to maintain our program. So, and they're all looked at. Prospect Street and Lozelle Street, those are on for, I think, 17 or 18.
Is it 18?
Yeah, but they're on the construction list. So, we're trying to get there.
Okay, let me move it on to Paul. Do you have any?
Yeah, I was going to say, almost half of the streets you worked on last year were in South Hingham, and Abington Street clearly needs work this year. My question was, when you do full-depth reconstruction, are you doing it to the standards as set out in the rules and regulations of the planning board?
No.
So the rules and regulations exceed the standards? You comply with some kind of state standard, I take it?
Yeah, so every road, depending on what we think the road is going to see for traffic volumes, actually the way it's measured is easels, estimated single axle loads, but we look at those roads, and I would say that without question, the rules and regs demand more from a developer or someone building a road that we're looking to accept than what we would do. And the reason why is, to Irma's point, is we have to spread this money around. So what we give you is what you need and not necessarily what we want. So if that makes sense. Yeah.
So I just may add one little statement to that. I believe that we're ahead of the curve as far as the quality of the work that's being done in the subdivisions as opposed to what's being done out in the public way. I think we're ahead of the curve on Mass Highway, and I think we're ahead of the curve in a lot of other towns in the area.
Okay, great. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Anything?
I just wanted to thank the work of the planning board, because I think that the roads that are being permitted are being constructed to last at least a half a century. And I don't want to hear complaints on anything I permitted, so that's where I am on that.
Okay. We got 3 years to catch up. Okay. All right. Thank you.
One last
Thank
thing
you.
before we go. Harry and I want to thank you. I know this is your last meeting. We're going to leave. I got to go to a hockey practice, but I want to thank you for everything you've done. And this is the last time you're going to see me up here, so at least in a formal capacity. So thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Can I say something, please?
No.
What do you mean, no? This is a subject.
I haven't opened it up to questions from the public.
Are you going to?
No. Not now.
Thank you.
We have people waiting. If you sit and wait, we'll bring you back. Stay right there.
On this subject, thank you.
We have some people we've been keeping waiting for 25 minutes. I don't like to do that.
Thank you.
Come on up. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ask Ted.
Get a grab chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you be so kind? These are our friends from Lincoln Maritime, and they're required to give us an annual report. And so, thank you. If you'd kindly introduce yourself to the public.
Sure. Good evening.
Sure.
Good evening. I'm Rick Pedoni. I'm the new president of the board at Lincoln this year. And with me is Ellen Gray,
Ellen Gray,
me.
the executive director of Lincoln Maritime.
Okay, all right. Oh, yeah.
Randall, the treasurer.
Jim, okay.
And this is my first report, so I hope you'll be nice to me. Well, Ellen will do most of the talking.
All right, go ahead.
Did everybody get a copy?
Yes.
Okay.
Let us see if I need, Betty, where did Ted go? If we could put a copy on there so the folks at home can see what we're saying.
And I want to apologize. I know I was asked to try to get this in earlier and failed.
Yeah, well, look. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Okay. Go.
Okay.
I'll do that if you want. I can just do it that way.
You all set there?
Yep, we're all set.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to share Lincoln Maritime, something that's certainly near and dear to a lot of us. And so we are the only community sailing and rowing program in Hingham, established in 1971. So we're on our 44th season, located down in Bard's Wharf. Our core values, first and foremost, is safety, obviously satisfaction to all of everybody involved, respect for the environment, and certainly respect for the community. We operate on program fees and donations. There is no cost to the town for us to operate, and we do receive donations through being a 501c3 status. Financially, in 2013, we had an income of about $290,000, our expenses of $310,000, with a deficit of $20,000. We have a board of trustees.
Ellen,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm fired. What am I doing?
Sorry, I'm going quick. It's 23 pages, so I was trying to keep us moving.
Okay.
Trustees, okay.
The
Yes.
20,000, just a quick question. How do you close that gap?
It was money that we had, set
Someplace.
aside in the bank. So we used maybe some previous,
Good.
donations or whatever would
Meaning
come.
that we really can't do that too many years in a row.
And in part, we literally passed the hat.
Okay. Okay.
Guys, I think these are out of order. I'm trying to follow with you. And I'm sorry.
There's an income chart there.
I was with you until...
Here, do you want my copy?
Well, that one's color. He's got the pretty pictures.
Easier.
False color blind.
Yeah, but he can't put it up on the projector.
Putting it on the thing here.
Oh, you're
for
putting
you.
it on?
Yeah, I'm
So
trying
the
to
people
follow
at
with
home can
Ellen.
see it.
Then give him a color one.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
We weren't organized to have that pretty little projector going for.
Not have the,
Here, you want to take mine?
I just did take yours. So there's the,
There we go.
Okay.
sorry.
You have this one.
I'll watch along with the audience.
It looks a little bit better because now you can see that the 20,000 is in red.
It's in red.
It's in red.
Additional color.
The additional color. So, yes, so it's obviously it's not something we can do every year. So this year, as Rick and Jim have indicated, we've got a new president, so they are overseeing making sure we don't do that again. It is an all-volunteer board, and all the members are listed on the sheet. We have 13 active members at this point in time, Rick being president, Jim being treasurer, Sue Bush is our secretary, and then Dick Burbridge, Dave Calnian, Stuart English, Steve Essalonis, Bob Goggin, Betsy Harling, Linda Kutch, Lisa McGilvery, Kent Marks, and Nina Villanova are also board members. They all bring something different to the table, and I personally am very appreciative for their volunteer service to us. We do have a fleet of almost 100 boats. 70 of them are sailboats, which are used for our 8-week summer program, broken down into N10s, which were from our original fleet. Many of them are 35 years of age. Those are the boats that you guys race in the Selectmen's Regatta.
And they show it. They show their age.
But they still
float.
They still do a purpose for us. Then we have the Optimus 420s, Lasers, Capris, and this past year we've brought on a fleet of 3 Rhodes 19s. We have rowing shells that run from May to October, singles, doubles, quads, 4s and 8s, and the 9 support power boats, varying sizes from 10 feet to 17 feet. Our docks, we have 2 dock systems, the main dock system, which is connected to Barnes Wharf, and then we have a separate 2 docks that are that are secured together for our 420 fleet. Currently, if you go down there right now, you will see Hingham High School's 420s sitting on those 2 floats. They're permitted annually. We've already got our permit. Kent issued that recently. So we launch our floats in March, even though our programs do not start till May to support the high school programs. A little bit of a challenge this year. Mother Nature decided to take her time to have the ice leave the harbor. And then, of course, we had a howling gale that came in the week right after we got them launched. So what I included was the new dock plan that's in place. It's been in place since March. So where it says proposed should actually be crossed out and say, it is our...
That's it. Okay.
That's it. It's it. It's been approved. The Conservation Commission had asked us to move our floats off of the mudflats, and so we had to reconfigure our float system. And in the next picture, you'll see how the way we did it was basically we put in absolutely what I would call a beautiful, beautiful new ramp. It is a 7-foot wide, ADA compliant, 40-foot long ramp that pushed our system 15 feet further out. And with the dock configuration, we were able to bring our footprint 5 feet towards the wharf so that we opened up the fairway by about 5 more feet for everybody who is in that area, whether you're transiting on a personal boat or any of our programs that might be coming and going. And as you can see by the picture, that's the Varsity 1 girls team carrying down on their shoulders. Traditionally, they have been carrying overhead, so it was really exciting to see that, to have that picture and have that opportunity.
It's wider?
It's wider,
Okay.
yeah, it's wider. It's 5 feet, 8 inches on the inside, and 7 feet on the outside.
It's beautiful.
Oh, that's a beautiful improvement.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a very beautiful ramp. It's a
And the
very, very-
kids walking the shells down don't bump into everything as they're moving the shells down to the water.
Yeah, no, it's going to be, it will work. We believe that you can actually take an Optimus on a dolly and roll that right down the ramp.
Oh, wow.
So, the junior sailors that might be coming and going to a regatta will be, be better serviced. The high school team did carry the 420s down. So they didn't go to the town beach and launch, they just carried the 420s down.
Beautiful.
So the next slide is our staff. I'm on board again being the executive director. This is my 5th or 6th or something years. I've been involved, as you know, probably since the inception of the program. And then Dushan Nicollet is our head of rowing. He is also the head rowing coach for Hingham High School varsity girls team. And then Annette Golden is our head of sailing. In a total, we have a staff of 27 of us down there keeping this program going. The next page shows you the numbers that we're looking at 2012 and 2013. Youth sailing is for 7 to 18-year-olds. We've held pretty consistent in our 2 years. Last year at 265 junior sailors. Youth rowing, once again, has also been pretty consistent, 144 last year. Youth adult sailing at 23 last year. And adult rowing shows a very large increase. And what that was generated from changing our program to 4 6-week programs to 5 5-week programs. So many people who would typically come for the whole season, they'll show up again. Their number, it's not necessarily that we got almost 100 people more, it's more, some of the same people signed up for more programs. So that number, I can't tell you how many new people we got. So basically, our program is being very consistent to where it's been. Our sailing programs are 2 4-week sessions, which has been consistent. We've been pretty consistent with that for about the last 15 or 20 years. And those programs run from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. And the dates of our 2 sessions are posted there. And the cute little picture is we have...
The kids stay there?
No, they go home.
They go home. The class times are, beginners start at 8 o'clock in the morning. They finish at 10:15. Our intermediate classes start at 10. They finish at 12:30. Our racing classes come in at 1. They finish at 4:30. We have adult classes that come in the evening.
Okay.
So we, all day long, it is just a flurry of activity. We do have Pirate Day twice a season. And in our rowing, same type of programming. We start at 6 o'clock in the morning. We finish at 7 o'clock at night. Classes are an hour and a half long, all season long. We start in early May, and we finish in late October. So that's that, and that's the explanation of that 5 sessions, 5-week sessions.
Okay.
As I said before, we've got the Hingham High School, high school programs, not just Hingham High School. High school programs on the wharf. They start in mid-March. They will run until about the beginning of June. And then the Hingham High School Rowing Association will do a couple small programs in the summer, and then they're back in the fall for their club program. So we have 100 right now. These are numbers as of last week. 100 student athletes from Hingham High School Rowing Association in 18 different rowing shells on the water. Hingham High School Sailing, it's got 25 athletes, student athletes within 8 420s. NDA has 30 athletes and 8 420s as well. So when you go down at the waterfront, it's very exciting to see all the different boats out there. And no student athlete pays Lincoln to participate in their high school program.
That's through a fee that they pay in the school or
They
something?
pay to the town. I mean, they pay to, to the schools.
And we provide the boats to high school sailing, correct?
No, Hingham High School Sailing owns
They have
their
their own
own boats. And our boats are being utilized by Notre Dame Academy.
Do we insure them? The boats?
I hope so.
We do the town or Lincoln?
You don't need it.
I don't know,
I believe Lincoln.
Who covers the...
Well, the rowing shells and the 420s are owned by the town of Hingham.
Okay.
They're owned by the town of Hingham. The power boats that are in the water and the 420s used by Notre Dame are owned by Lincoln Maritime.
Okay.
The rowing,
So the rowing...
The rowing is insured by the town.
right, they're bought by the boosters, the parents, and through fundraising, and then donated to the town. Yep.
So the town does insure the rolling shells?
Yes.
As well as the 420s.
Yeah. Okay.
So next up is our annual Selectmen's Regatta. Irma and Paul they had a premiere.
Managed not to
Yep.
fall in.
You came back dry, and you came back.
That's good.
You brought the boat back to us.
That's what happened.
And it was
to me.
insured by us, so I'm glad you brought it back to us.
That's what happened to me the
Yeah.
first
There you
2
go.
years. I never got back.
That is, it's a little bit later, I'll show you the schedule. That is scheduled for August 14th, so please pencil that in, because we certainly enjoy having you guys there. The Birch Cotta Regatta, I just wanted to highlight, is a very, very special regatta that is a junior event, sailing event that we hold annually. It's in recognition of, in honor of 2 Hingham women who lost their battle to breast cancer, Jenny Birch and Susan Cotter. And so that's what sort of the BC, Birch Cotter, breast cancer all sort of came together. And in the last few years, we have donated over $2,000 a year to South Shore Hospital's Breast Cancer Center. About 70, 80 junior sailors participating, and it is just a wonderful little event that we have annually, and that is sort of it's the end of our program for the junior sailors, and it is the end of many other programs and well supported. So it just wanted to highlight something special that we do. The fees to the town, as I said before, this is a community service that we take nothing from the town. In fact, we give back to the town. We have a lease fee of $3,000. We pay $1,300 in mooring fees, $300 in dock fees. We have a fuel permit for $50, so we give to the town $4,652 annually. And our calendar for events, of special events coming up for 2014 is we will be involved in Touch a Boat, which is coordinated with Friends of Hingham Harbor and the Hingham Harbor Master on May 31. Great spot to watch the Hingham fireworks if you're not over at the bandstand. The wharf is open to the public, and it's a delightful place to watch it. We have a sunset cruise, which is one of our 2 fundraisers we do to support our organization. In April, we just had the Regatta Revels over at the South Shore Country Club, and then our second one is the Sunset Cruise. We bring in a ferry right to our docks, hop on board, go out for a cruise, and enjoy out to Boston Light, into Boston Harbor, and back again.
It is so much fun. It is a great evening, and your Regatta Revels was wonderful.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
You're not
thank
worried
you.
about catching on a sandbar or anything?
No, and don't worry, Paul, it's a 3-hour cruise.
I didn't think the harbor was deep enough for that.
And then once again, so the Selectmen's Regatta, as a reminder, love to see all of you. And Ted, you as well, is more than welcome to come down on August 14th. A lot of fair warning. Betty, I got it on the schedule early for you. And the BC Regatta is August 16th.
Oh, that's good to see.
And just a couple little highlights from last year. We were very excited. We were the cover of the Hingham phone book, supported by the Hingham Hall Rotary Club. We had 2 specials on HCAM TV, one of which was just a feature of Lincoln Maritime and our boats, and of course, the Selectmen's Regatta. Yes, you looked great on TV, Paul.
Oh, boy.
And of course, we are very excited to be associated with the varsity girls at the Junior Nationals for Hingham High School Rowing Association.
And this year, the film of the Selectmen's Regatta will be our greatest fundraiser.
Oh, boy. Wait.
Well, I'm getting,
We'll be auctioning it off at the end of the night.
I'm getting out of town just in time. That's good.
So in our last
don't
picture, of
put
course,
it
that
on.
should have headlined it, think spring, please,
Okay.
sooner than later.
Was that yesterday's picture?
Just about, close enough.
Well, I thank you. This is something we want to do regularly, to see the benefit that you folks provide to the town, and these annual updates are required, but it's more than that. It's an opportunity to people to see the good work that you do on behalf of the citizens of the town. So we thank you for this. And it's a good way to advertise the good work that you do, too. So we appreciate it very much. Any other comments?
Yes, one of the ways that they close the gap and let this not be forgotten when they run short of funds is Ellen forgoes her salary.
little bit, once in a while.
Yeah, once in a while, like virtually every year. And Tally and I have supported this organization actually since its founding. I think we came in shortly after that, and the early days of the fundraisers, a lot of the baskets were created around our dining room table. So we think it has come so far and provides such a great service at nominal cost to the town. It's a great organization.
Okay, Paul?
I know two of you pretty well, having grown up in town with you, and I think what you do is great. I'm not a sailor, but I love seeing that, and I like that the kids are involved at an early age. It's something they can take with them into adulthood if they're fortunate enough to live near the water. So I like it. I guess I'm going to continue looking at the water from the land side, but you never know.
Oh, once a year.
Once a year.
We'll give you a boat.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. Okay, Mr. Hersey had a question, Ted, and I delayed it because we had kept these people waiting.
Sure.
And I told him you would handle it regarding the road project. Mr. Hersey.
My name is John Hersey. I live at 65 Hersey Street, but 65 years I lived in this town. Before I came to this meeting tonight, I went to the advisory board with a problem. The advisory board told me to come and talk to the two head people at the DPW. I'm not going to mention their names. And I was disrespected when I got here. That's very sad. I don't like that.
Will you get to your point, Mr. Hersey, please?
Yes, I will. I know you're trying to rush me like you're... But you don't treat me the same. You don't tell these people to rush, you tell me to rush. I'd like to know when these people over the DPW are going to finish. I'm going to put this up. I'm going to finish Vehicle Park Drive. When that's going to be finished. Those people are restricted from their property with all that water, and the road isn't built right. There's a problem with that. A week and a half ago, the DPW worked for 3 days trying to unscrew that problem over there. Now, why did they do that? Why did they work 3 days to unscrew that problem? Why?
I don't have an answer for Mr. Hersey. He just presented me the question today. I'll be happy to get one.
Okay.
So...
Is this picture for me, Ms. John, or should you want this back?
$50 you can have that. You charge me every nickel and dime for a piece of paper, $50 for that if you want.
Are you giving this for me to research?
No, I want the people at home to see that there, because that's another problem where the road isn't pitched correctly. The federal government has a problem with the River Act, the Clean Water Act, with that water going into a swamp. That shouldn't be pitched that way.
Excuse me, Mr.
That's
Hersey.
another problem with that
Excuse me,
road.
Mr.
I want
Hersey.
to know when it's going to be...
Excuse me just a second. Didn't we just discuss this with Roger, this whole issue?
We did.
We did. So were you here for that session? We talked about the plans to
On the
fix...
3rd, you did.
Yeah.
Of April, as I understand.
So is
Here's
this
your
something
picture.
additional?
I'll get you answers about both those intersections, Mr. Hersey. I'll provide them to you in
I am
writing.
trying to get this straightened away before town meeting, because town meeting, in the warrant, it says, you're asking the public, will you please accept Vehicle Park Drive as built? Well, it's not built correctly, so I'm trying to unscrew this now, rather than go to town meeting. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to know when it's going to be fixed. Okay, the water is not supposed to drain from that piece of Vehicle Park Drive to Fort Hill Street. It was never drained that way. It never drained that way. All the rainwater and water on that whole parcel of Vehicle Park always drained into the river. So I'm asking the question, when is it going to be fixed?
First of all, I can't tell you that there's a problem, but I will get back to you with an answer to what is the issue that you're raising, and if there's a problem, what the solution and the time frame for that solution is. And I've committed to getting back to you on that.
The water is on these people's property at the back of Hillside Terrace. It was never that way. When they constructed the road, they raised the roads high.
I'm sorry, we had a discussion on this. There is a game plan in place.
Oh, there is?
There is. It was here, you were not here when we had that hearing, so there is a plan. Ted will bring it to your attention.
When will he bring it to my attention? I always have to ask...
As soon as he gets an opportunity to talk to them in the next 48 hours, 50 hours, Monday. Is that reasonable, Ted? Can you get...
Monday we're closed.
Well, Monday we're closed, so by the end of next week, I'll have an answer to you, John.
You're still working on my problem, Betty, right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Betty, I'm waiting for your answer, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just comment?
Go ahead, please, Mr. Hume.
I don't mean to belabor the issue, but my memory, Bob, is that we talked about this a few weeks ago. That area where the water is private property. It's a bowl. If you could just let me finish.
It's a map.
You talked about... I'm responsible, okay. The explanation that we got was that there was a pipe that wasn't on the plans, wasn't shown on the plans, and they started to explore it to see whether or not it was broken or compromised. They ran into a problem, and there was a discussion as to whether or not additional steps should be taken, and whether or not it would be appropriate to perform a fix on private property with public money. And, okay, you say you have a plan, perhaps it would assist the repair process by you submitting that and enabling...
I need some goodwill first.
You can't complain about the problem when you say you have a plan that you won't provide to the town. I don't know what to tell you, Bob. I honestly don't.
I need some goodwill.
We've discussed this enough.
It's the only plan available. It's the only plan available.
All right. Ted, I would suggest, Ted, that you explore the questions that he's got, and you get back to Mr. Hersey at the end of next week, as agreed. Okay. We have, moving on, we have a warrant article number 14, transfer to the reserve fund. I would maybe, Betty or Ted, you want to...
Did the advisory committee vote this earlier today, do you know?
They were acting on it earlier. I don't know. Let me check and see if I
I think
can
they're
find
done for the night.
Well, I think they were done. They only had a shorter meeting. They were to be done.
So this is the annual article we keep to replenish the reserve fund should we need it throughout the year. And the advisory committee is going to be looking for, I believe, a request of 510,000, I think, is what they're looking for. So I'm just going to get...
I have our vote list has a number 220,000.
So they're doing the net amount because they've
That's the
discovered...
net.
Okay.
Right.
This is something that Betty was working on with...
Yes, here's what...
today, so I'll let her take it over.
Betty, refresh my memory. There's two issues here. One is the snow and ice removal.
Correct.
We have $500,000 in this fund, is what we vote as regularly as part of our annual budget.
Correct.
The snow and ice overrun was $430,000. Betty, am I saying that correct? And in addition, I'd like the public to know that we've had some other additional legal expenses, and I have a list of those. We have the Bear Cove Park and the National Park Service issues that come up. This hearing we had tonight, the SEB issue. We've had some zoning bylaw issues to address. We've had the 3 Otis Street discussion, which has gone on far too long, but it's at somebody's expense. We've had the safety issue on Whiting Street. And then, most importantly, the earth removal discussion that went on interminably for the fields involved that, and then we had some other issues. Betty, I guess you have a long list of this, and you can...
Is that in our folder? It's, because it's
This
not in
folder,
mine.
I had just...
She gave that to me today.
Oh, can we have a copy of that?
Sure, I'll give you a
I'm
copy.
sure
No.
Paul would want a copy, too.
What we have, in addition, what I'd like to bring on the table, there's been some comment about the legal budget. And in 2011, that was the peak. It's at $471,000. In 2012, that came down to $143,000. In 2013, it's at $293,000, with a 5-year average of $347,000. And the plan with this additional money is, what's the final number you're estimating for this year, Betty?
It would be, I
330?
believe, just over 300.
Just over 300. So we've greatly reduced the number. From 2009, we spent $375,000. So we're keeping our eye on the legal budget, and it's moving in the right direction, with the unanticipated exception of these events that keep coming at us, and we have to react when we do.
So I think overall, had we not had the snow year that we had, we would be living within the constraints of the advisory committee's reserve fund. My understanding is the advisory committee had requested an estimate of what we think will be needed through the year, and that's what we've provided.
Okay. So, all right, I'll open it up for comments, and I'll keep a
Where-
copy of my notes.
Oh, good. Or Betty can just give me the spreadsheet. I would prefer that. It's coming from the fund balance
Correct.
too, okay.
All right, Paul?
No, I wish it wasn't snowing as much this year, I'll tell you. That's a big number.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know, legal issues are legal issues, and I think that they just come with some of the issues that are before the town presently. The weather's a little harder to predict.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Also,
Do you want to read that one, Paul? It's
this one.
Sure. Well, is the figure?
Yep.
Okay.
It's the same one.
22946.
Okay. 22946.
Yeah, that's this number.
220. Yeah.
Okay. I'll recommend the transfer of $220,946 to the reserve fund under Article 14 of the warrant for the 2014 annual town meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have some other votes we should take care of.
We have this as well.
Yes.
So we should do that now.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
There's a request for a reserve fund transfer request to the Veterans Department of $4,400. It's my understanding that this is necessary to bridge the gap to fund the position due to Chief Petty Officer German's absence while he's deployed. It's my understanding that Mr. Litchfield will be coming in to take his place during the interim, so that this will provide continuity of services to the veterans, and they will not experience any interruption.
That's right. It's about a 30-day overlap. Is that
That's
right?
my understanding.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Haley, would you be kind enough to make that motion?
I'll move that we transfer $4,400 to the reserve fund. This be under Article 14 as well?
No.
No.
We just
This would be just to approve a reserve fund transfer request for $4,400.
so moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have 1 day wine and liquor licenses. We have a couple of those. Irma? would you-
Okay. I make a motion to approve the issuance of a special one-day wine and malt beverages liquor license to Stephen Weiss for Laughing Our Way to a Cure, a fundraiser for MS research to be held at Congregation Sherei Shalom on Saturday, May 28th, 2014, from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m.
So moved. Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Paul?
Move to approve the issuance of a special one-day wine, malt, beverages, liquor license to Donna Haggett on behalf of Hingham Shipyard Marinas for the South Shore In-Water Boat Show to be held at the Hingham Shipyard Marinas on Saturday, April 26th, and Sunday, April 27th, 2014, from noon to 5.
Second.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ted, there's a request in here for an increase in the Metropolitan Area Council's request at one point.
Yeah, this is a request from MAPC. Their budget hasn't changed in almost a decade, and they're experiencing some pressures in being able to fulfill their responsibilities, and they would like us to send a letter in support to the state requesting an increase in their budget.
So it's an 18-cent increase per capita.
Yes.
But how much does that really mean for us?
Well, it's not going to be a bill to us. They're applying to the state budget, and they would like our support, since we're the constituents they're helping. So we're not going to be paying for this directly, of course. Everything the state pays for comes from all the cities and towns, of course.
Now, the MMA is proposing, and I believe they're going to undertake a study of MAPC and their value to the communities, because I'm not sure everybody shares that. So I'm not...
Well, MMA and MAPC are not in the same organization as you.
No, I understand. I understand, but MMA represents the cities and towns, and they use these services.
So are you,
I'm going to abstain from this. I think they should live within their budget. And just as an aside, the pothole money, which we're grateful to get, came the same day that budget cuts to the cultural programs were hitting. And I think that's where they took the money from, because the South Shore Conservatory was told that some of the funding they get from the state was not going to happen this year. So it's...
sorry, I did not read that. You may be right.
No, I got some emails and documents.
What I heard from our state reps was it came from another source. They didn't cut anything. And that's what they put in the press.
Correct, that's what they said.
That's what they told us. So, well, I'm in support of them. They've done a lot of good work in my 6 years here.
And this request did come from Marco Boro, who is your representative to the NIPC.
Okay, so Paul.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, just the work that we're doing on the master plan is so critically important, and to have that as a resource can't be understated or undervalued. So if they say they need more money.
And Marco is supporting this?
The request came from Marco.
All right.
Go ahead. All right, so.
I'll make a motion that we support the Metropolitan Area Planning Council's request for a one-time increase in the state budgets from where it stands now, around 32 cents per capita to 50 cents per capita.
I'll second it, based on Marco.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's that time of year. We have a proclamation to promote, and it's something we've done every year, and it's Arbor Day, and it's scheduled for April 29th. So, Irma, would you just read the vote, if you
Sure.
would?
I make a motion to proclaim Tuesday, April 29th, 2014, to be Arbor Day in Hingham.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we have a building fee for the booking room at the police station. There's a permit, they're redoing that room.
And we'll request that we waive the building permit fee for that.
All right.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have appointments to make, and this is as we've voted in the warrant article to approve membership, increased membership to the Herbert Foss Memorial Committee. And Mr. Healy, would you be kind enough to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we appoint Melissa Tully, John McHugh, and John Clifton to the Herbert L. Foss Memorial Committee.
I'm not going to support this, and I'll state why.
It's okay. I'll second the motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm a no.
Okay.
And I think it's time we take a breather and take a big breath and step back from this. Of the 5 original people, we've had 2 resignations. Jim Claypool and Bill Ramsey resigned.
Bill Ramsey resigned because he's obligated to. The Foss Committee will be required to come before the planning board, and that would be a conflict of interest.
Okay, and that's...
Mr. Claypool resigned on his own accord.
And that's not why Mr. Ramsey resigned.
That's what he told me.
All right. Well, he was on TV Monday night. And I am told that there are other resignations coming from that committee. It's deeply disturbing to me that we will have 3 veterans who are extremely well respected in this town resigning. I think 9 members of a committee. I went through today looking at committees in town, and the most committees have 3 or 5 members. Some of the larger ones have representatives from town departments as well. I think we need to rethink the 9. Maybe with all the other resignations coming in, perhaps we can back down the side. There's an election coming. I think the incoming selectmen should have some say in the committee that's going to be ongoing. And I was told I would have a pick to go on the committee from the 2 members, the 2 additional ones, and that has not happened. I've also not been able to talk with 2 of the people that were mentioned here, and I'd like to talk with them. So I'm a no vote.
Okay. I second the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's a
And I'm a
2-to-1
no.
vote.
Yep.
Okay. We have a request for counsel, and that is the continuation of this additional services, it's legal services, on the SEB Village on Main Street permit application. Ted, my understanding this would be an additional amount of about $5,000 short-term. It may be more if this continues.
Correct.
But we're voting for $5,000, which increases, what I understand.
Yes.
Okay. So, Irma, you can...
Oops, I just put the thing away. Sorry. Make a motion to grant a request for counsel to the Zoning Board of Appeals for an additional services on the SEB Village on Main comprehensive permit application.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Okay, we have one last piece of business on the agenda, and that is the evaluation of the town administrator. And I'll, if you'll permit me, I'll get my folders here. The process we use in the town is to put together a committee of 8 people who have interaction with the town administrator, and those are a citizen at large, 3 department heads, and the 3 Board of Selectmen and the citizen at large, as I mentioned, those are the 8. There is a standard format we use where there are 6 categories. The categories are planning and organizing, the relations with other committee, leadership and decision-making, communications, community relations, job knowledge, financial management, and then a judgment on the evaluation of the performance relative to specific goals. As a result of those evaluations, and the evaluations are for those categories are done on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being low and 5 being high. So what I've done, and these records will be available for the public, that Mr. Alexiadis on the leadership category had an average rating for the 9 areas ranging from 3.8 to 4.25. Under the scale that we have, that means it was a very strong performance, not outstanding, but very strong. And the comments we received was he is a fine leader, he encourages feedback, he keeps department heads informed on issues that the town is facing, he is open to different views, he deals directly but cautiously with personnel issues, he's good at giving credit where credit is due, and one of the secrets of leadership is his ability to provide long-term planning. In the evaluations, while they were very strong, there was some recommendations, and the recommendations, which we've all shared with Mr. Alexiadis, is the need to strengthen our financial side of management. Right now, he leads that effort, is ably assisted by the town accountant, but as his duties continue to grow, that he needs to find another way to deal with that. On the second issue of board and other committee relations, he had a rating of 4.0 to 4.2 from the 8 people, and the comments generally centered around his ability to relate well to the various boards, and that he served as a valuable resource to those other boards. And two of the evaluators made suggestions to be more proactive in providing information in advance so that there could be more proactive discussion on the issue. In the third category of planning and organizing, he had a average rating in the 5 areas of that section from a 3.9 to a 4.2, and the comments said was Ted has the right vision for the future. His Avalon and Hingham Mutual Management best exemplify his planning ahead for tomorrow. In the communications area, where he had an average rating for the 7 sections there from 3.9 to 4.3, the comments were Ted is a good communicator and, more importantly, a good listener. Ted's communication skills have improved over the last couple of years, things of that nature. In community relations, where for the 7 areas, he had an average rating of 4.0 to 4.3. He has made progress with his community relations by being present at community events and keeping the media informed. He is consistently outstanding. Some people observe that he, recognizing that he has time constraint, and he should make every effort to be in 3 places at the same time. On job knowledge, his average rating was a 4.0 to 4.3. One interesting comment one person made was, as time has passed, he appears to be more comfortable and enjoying his job, which is, and a very strong recommendation. Ted, as many of you know, has been pursuing professional development, and he's being encouraged to continue that work effort. And finally, financial management. He had ratings in this area from 4.3 to 4.5, and this was, in fact, the strongest section, as we would expect, given his background, of his evaluations. And comments there range from Ted's financial talents are obviously one of his real strengths. His ability to identify and solve financial issues is excellent, and his presence ensures continuity between administrations, which is vital to smooth government. So, as I said, these will be available. We need to vote this evaluation collectively to approve it in public, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I comment on this evaluation?
If you take a minute.
Yeah. The reason why the Department of Interior is coming down to town is because we had 3 meetings with Mr. Alexiadis and we got nowhere. So therefore, he threw his card at me after I went just one-on-one with him, and he said that you think we're doing something wrong, you know. So this is why we're spending a lot of money on legal fees going forward, because he didn't do his job, and I don't think he is a good leader.
Okay,
That's why
thank you for that comment.
That's why I have a job today.
Sit down, Mr. Hersey. That's why you're not sitting here.
I don't want to sit there.
That's good.
Thank God for that.
Come on, Bob.
Okay. Now let's add to Mr. Hersey's woes. As a result of this, in Ted's contract, he has a bonus, or an incentive, correction, I cancel that word. He has an incentive performance mechanism, is $15,000, which the selectmen can decide to give all, some, or none of that incentive plan. We discussed it in executive session, and now we put it out here for public vote. Mr. Healy, would you be so kind?
Sure. I move that we vote to approve the incentive payment of $15,000 previously discussed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Alexiadis, I thank you for your continued good performance.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank the whole board and the town. You know, it's a real pleasure to work here. The department heads and the staff throughout the town are a real joy to work with. They're very supportive of each other, which is makes my job easier. But the town has a very rich amount of volunteers that also makes my job very rewarding and helpful, and it's a pleasure to work here, and thank you.
Okay, well, we thank you, and you've been a great asset to the town. It's now time, we'll conclude tonight's meeting, but before I do, I just have one last piece of action. We had a good meeting Tuesday night. I think it was a good deliberation between ourselves and the Aquarian Water Company. I thought the meeting got a lot of information out there.
We're here to embarrass you.
Wait a minute, I was just closing the meeting.
Get some new local aid numbers for you. Local aid numbers. We're not closing yet. Mr. Chairman, we are here to thank you for, where is Susan?
She's right here.
There she is. All right.
I wondered why you were here sitting through this.
This is your last meeting, as you know, after 6 very short years. 6 more could have been a blink of an eye. But we're here, all 3 of us, myself and your representative, Representative Murphy, obviously Senator Hedlund, to express our thanks.
Oh, thank you.
It's people like you who get into government, especially on the municipal level, which can be a very thankless job. After a very successful career in which you could just enjoy your retirement, you stepped forward for 6 years and have made a incredible mark on the town of Hingham. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I'm going to let my colleague in the House, because he is actually represents Precinct 2, read the citation we have, and we just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So we came down to say hello and to thank you, and we have a citation from the House, and Senator Headland has one from the Senate. But it's an official citation, and it's from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's much nicer than the Senate resolution.
Guys always say that. This makes it all,
true.
the consistency of this makes it all worth it.
So it says, "Be it hereby known to all that the House of Representatives offers its congratulations to you in recognition of your 6 years of dedicated service to the people of Hingham as member and chairman of the Board of Selectmen. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses hope for future good fortune in all endeavors. Signed this day, signed by Robert DeLeo, Speaker of the House, myself, Representative James Murphy, and also State Representative Garrett Bradley." So congratulations and thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well done.
I just texted him, we just got a printer cartridge emergency in my house.
That's important.
That's important.
You might make it, hurry.
You might make it.
Thank you for doing that.
All right. Thank you.
Speed. I won't.
All right. Thank
It
you.
is true that the House citations may be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, but these are much more hard to come by.
That's good.
When I come in this room, I'm reminded of my 8th grade English class. I sat right about there. But I'm
Yes.
also reminded tonight of October 2, 1983, where I had the pleasure of attending Carl Yastrzemski's last game.
Number 8.
That's what I'm reminded of tonight. I went to Carl Yastrzemski's last game. Now I'm at Bruce Rebuffo's last Selectmen's meeting.
I don't know.
Carl Yastrzemski of Hingham Selectmen.
Yes.
Does that make you, Paul?
George Scott?
Thanks. What about me?
Oh, thank you.
Get the mic in. Or maybe you would be the Dick Williams.
Ooh.
Anyway, I also want to echo the words of the representative and thank you for your devotion to the town. And I know that Susan has a hourglass at home that's been counting the sands down when this day arrived, because you took the job very seriously. You immersed yourself in the job. I used to joke that Hingham had kind of like a mayor on its Board of Selectmen, and certainly had your hands on a lot of issues and devoted a lot of your talents and time and energy. So thank you for that. I won't read the entire citation, but it does extend congratulations and best wishes to Bruce Rebuffo in recognition of your retirement after 6 years as a member of the Hingham Board of Selectmen and the many years of dedicated service you have provided to the residents of Hingham. And Susan doesn't know this, but my understanding is that he has already drafted a letter that he is submitting to the board and to the moderator to be read at town meeting for the list of 17 committees that he would like to serve on. So he's still going to give him some time. I don't know. I think.
He's not going to be on any committee.
Anyway, congratulations.
Thanks for bringing that up, Bob.
No,
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. You flatter me. Thank you very much. My goodness.
Oh, you
thank
get the envelope,
I get the
too.
envelope. This is state expense. Congratulations. Thanks, Jamie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Worded to when you're done.
Yeah, I got a couple things, too. One involves the marathon.
Thank you for your patience. I obviously didn't know this was coming, so.
And it was quite a chore keeping you unaware. Most people know that it's hard to keep you unaware of things.
No, well, thank you. Hey, Bob, could you do me a favor? Can you get my wife in the camera?
No.
You know, Susan has, people know this, anybody who has a partner in this, when you get local, you know, we get the appearance and the time, and there's somebody who sits home on a couch watching the meetings. She does provide Nielsen ratings as to how I've done, but it's her support and her love that has enabled me to do this, and as she's done in so many other aspects of our life. So it's her we should thank, because she hears me rant and rave and go through all of the other issues. Walk the floor working through it. So I thank all of you, and I thank all of the selectmen that I've worked with, because you give a lot up to do this. And I look forward to my retirement, which is only, 18 days and 3 hours away, so, but who's counting? So thank you for that, and I thank the representatives for coming down tonight, so. Okay. Do we have any reports tonight? Go ahead, Irma.
No, you first. I do have several things.
Well, I just want to continue on the same theme. I've been in town government in a volunteer capacity for a while, and the kind of commitment that all of us who volunteer our time is kind of what sustains, I think, the quality of life in the town in terms of how our money is spent and our resources are used. But I think none more so than this board, Ms. Lauder and Mr. Abufo and myself. There's a lot of things coming in, and I had the privilege of serving with you, Bruce, for a year, but I always felt that you respected the planning board when I sat on it, and you gave weight to the mission that we were trying to accomplish on the second floor, and I truly appreciate that. But none more so than this past year. I'm getting used to being on a 3-member board where communicating through Ted to the two of you is a new experience for me. But I have appreciated the guidance that both of you have provided, but you in particular because of your role as chair. So I thank you very much for the work that you've done.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate those comments.
Well, thank you for 6 years. I think you've left your mark on the town, and hopefully Susan can keep you busy. I don't know, what are you going to do now that you sold your boat? Good grief.
That's get another one.
I see. Is it the honey-do list?
Yeah, no, not so much.
Something like that. See my grandchildren for the first time in a year.
I do have a few things,
Okay,
if you don't mind. First off, I think many people remember J.P. Craven. He was an awesome high school athlete, graduated in 2006. JP last year was injured in the marathon bombing. Well, this year, JP and 7 of his closest friends are running in the marathon. They have a team, and I want to get this right, because so far they've raised over $100,000, so I think people should help maybe kick in a couple more bucks here and there. JP, it's www.jpsteam.org. So it's so good, and they've got a picture of JP on this particular website where you can see the scar that he now will carry with him. But he's doing good. He's lost a little bit of his hearing, so now when his mom says something, he can rightly say, "I can't hear you, Mom." But we're just very thankful that he is okay and running the marathon again. Friday, May 2nd, we have a fundraiser for the 4th of July parade. And it's at the Black Rock Country Club from 7:30 to 10:30. Please, everybody, if you can, come and support this. The parade is not funded by the town. I don't think many people know that. There's 3 different efforts looking for money for the 4th of July that everybody really enjoys. The road race is a standalone. The 4th of July Parade Committee is having this as a fundraiser. Then we also have a Selectmen's Golf Tournament. And then the Lions Club collects money for the fireworks. But please join us. You can get tickets at hingham4th.eventbrite.com, which is a new one for me. If you could put this up. While I congratulate the girls' hockey white team, they're B Division champs, and the girls' hockey red team, which are A Division champs. Wish to heaven they'd had stuff like that when I was growing up, but of course that was in stagecoach days, so. What we're putting up now is a family run for CPAC. That is going to be on May 3rd, and May 3rd is going to be an unbelievably busy day. Farmers Market opens. It's Election Day, we've got the fun run, and who knows what else is out there, but please support this if you can. And I think that, thank you very much. I'll save this for next time. Yes, it can wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
Irma mentioned something that's important. We have town meeting April 28th and April 29th. Hopefully you all have received this. The recommendations of advisory are in here. I think this board, and I'll poll them again tonight, the water company article is something we have been supporting. I think I had we did have a proclamation a statement 2 weeks ago from our representatives supporting our efforts, and the senator who is still here had a conversation with me on Tuesday, expressed his support for the town's activities on this issue, and I'm grateful to all three public officials for their support of this effort to pursue this action. As we said at the meeting the other night, 96% of the citizens of the Commonwealth get their water from a public source. That's what we think. That's why we think this is a good idea for all the other good issues. We, tonight now, so I would like you to come, and as Irma said, May 3rd is the day to come out and vote, whoever your candidates are. We have a couple of good races. Make sure the most important part of government is the participation of the citizens, so if you could. So we now have to adjourn, and I would recommend that the board enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing real estate matters, because discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town. The board will not resume open session this evening. Mr. Healy? Aye. Ms. Potter? Aye. Mr. Rebuffo? Aye. Thank you all very much.